The Roundtable Perspective is a scholarly interview show. It airs on Lakeshore PBS, and the concept behind the show is similar to other sort of in-depth interview shows like Charlie Rose or Larry King Now. The idea is to deep dive, if you will, into topics that aren't necessarily discussed. In other areas, we try to find those sort of esoteric topics and really get very detailed into the discussions. We bring in experts from the field, people that have either written books about things that they're discussing, or they have some sort of other qualifications that makes them an expert in what they're talking about. The Roundtable Perspective in its current incarnation started in 2017. If I can go back a little bit, it actually started in the early 2000s as a program called Purdue Cal and U, which was basically a show about Purdue Cal and what was going on. Obviously, we're no longer Purdue Calumet. That show was transformed into Calumet Perspectives, which looked at a little bit further into the region. So it wasn't completely university focused, but it still had a large university focus. So it was closer to our show in a current incarnation, but not quite. And then we turned it into the Calumet Roundtable, which was very similar to the program that we do now. Probably still had too many guests from our university on there, but it was a focus on those sort of deep discussions, as I mentioned earlier. And then finally, after the university turned into Purdue Northwest, we decided that we were going to go on a new network. We needed a new name. We were going to kind of rebrand the show and try to take it to new heights, which I feel we have done. So the Roundtable Perspective is kind of, it has this long history of all these other programs, but it's really kind of its own beast as well. So.
And we even have a budget for the show where the students have input on how that budget is spent. And we try to get the biggest bang, obviously, for the money that we have, and we put the money into the strategic places that can advance the show, advance our reputation. Sometimes we buy equipment with it. Sometimes we buy, things to help social media. And so all of these opportunities for the students exist, and they really do have a stake in this.
With the Roundtable Perspective, I do enjoy getting to work with lots of students. It's a challenge because you spend a fair amount of time really getting a crew together, teaching them what to do, and it feels like a lot of times once we get a really great crew together, that's about the time that the semester is ending or people are graduating. So I know you're asking me what's the best part, but realistically it's also kind of the worst part too, because you get to know these people and you like them, and you get to look forward to taping an episode, and then the next thing you know you're starting all over with a different batch. And so it's a unique challenge that brings positives, but there's a heavy negative that comes at the end of that. So. As far as actual difficulties, we've had a lot of different things happen during a program. We have a commitment where we have to produce an actual television show. This is not something that's just done for fun or just for the university or just for YouTube. We have a commitment with Lakeshore PBS, so we have to get these shows out. And we've had issues crop up with our lighting board went out at one point. Obviously, we've had little technical issues during the actual tapings. We've had guests cancel and be scrambling at the last minute. So there's just always some kind of a challenge. Obviously, as I mentioned before, you get new students in, they either don't know a lot about the equipment or they're not familiar with the show. And then once you kind of get them there, it seems like it's time for a new crew as well. So there's just always a unique challenge. I don't think other television programs have to deal with constantly turning over crew members at the rate that we do. But that's just the nature of the beast because we're taping at a university.
My position on the Roundtable Perspective is as the director. I will direct the live shows, meaning I will get the crew ready for our taping that day. I'll run camera checks, mic checks, I'll make sure that our guest and host are going to be all set out here, whether they have everything that they need, like water, or that the show notes have been presented to them from the producers. If there are any problems with cameras during practices, I make sure that our cameras are working on better defining their skills. So it's a little bit of everything. I kind of corral everyone into their position once team bonding is all over. So we kind of have to switch from this mode of having a lot of fun and just overall just energy, which is always a good time, but once we flip from that switch of playing games, it's back to work, and as the director, you kind of have to guide the class to make sure that we are bettering ourselves in each of our positions and producing quality entertainment.
What I do is I am at the camera 1 position, so I just hold the shots on the host, so like a medium close-up shot, and then once that's through, I go ahead and move to a 2-shot of both the host and guest. What I enjoy most is that I don't have to really be in the control room. I feel a lot more calmer and relaxed being in the studio, and that way, because in the control room it can be kind of stressful with how the vibe is in the room, so I like in the studio it's very calmer and it's a lot more relaxed. Now that I'm more skilled at it, that I kind of like the position more than anything else. Like I couldn't see myself being a floor director or like DVR or like another position like that. Like camera is pretty good for me. Like at least, and it's also good because I get to be more active instead of just sitting around and not being that attentive during a show.
For the Roundtable Perspective, I work as the technical production advisor, which sort of means I oversee everything that's going on, making sure that there's no issues with any equipment, make sure all the students are kind of familiar with their positions, and sort of solve any problems that come up. I also serve as the editor of the program, which just means after the show is taped, I'm going to put in all the lower thirds and make any small adjustments that need to be made, whether it's just the audio or sometimes we have little bits that need to be added in, some B-roll, things like that.
So this isn't my first time taking this class. I actually was enrolled in this class last spring as a producer. So my first round with practicum was a little bit more on the administrative side. I did a lot of guest booking and emailing, so I wasn't in the control room a lot of the practices or even tapings because we were out with the guests getting them prepped for the show. But this is my second time taking this class. What I enjoy most about my position is probably the team bonding and seeing each individual team member progress in their skills as either a camera operator or an audio assistant. I really like seeing how far each of my crew members have come from the beginning of week 1 to week 16. It's nice to see how confident they've become as not only their technical position, but also in their confidence as a student or a friend or just a general well-rounded human being.
So being a photographer, my main goal I have to do is every taping I have to come in here and take set photos, so of the guests and the hosts like they're in their natural state, so they can use it for like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and things like that. And then after the taping I have to get a headshot of the guest, and more headshots. I have to do headshots of the production crew and the auxiliary crew, and with the auxiliary crew I have to take as many photos as they need me to, so tabling, special events, things like that.
Like a good old family, and even though we got the day off, I was really bummed. So the high is that, reverse, we're all here. I think we're all here, right? Everyone's here? Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun today because I can already feel it in the air. All right, my goal is in.
Learning, like I had just said, I didn't apply for this job, so I know everyone knows how to use a camera, but originally my photos turned out really blurry, and I was just kind of worried about doing the job. There's a lot of people in the class that can actually do my job better, so I'm excited to know that just because it's a good challenge for me. but just learning how to use the camera and learning how to do the best lighting and things like that.
My crew is very helpful and they're very engaging when trying to bring up the energy in the room. Like before a taping, if the energy is low, someone will crack a joke or, just try to bring up or lighten the mood a bit so that way we have a good positive vibe going on before every taping. So yeah, the crew really helps out a lot.
Difficulties I've experienced in my position had to deal a lot with my own expectations of how I think I should be directing. When I first got the position as director, I wasn't expecting to get that position. It was something that I thought I wasn't ready for yet. The shoes seemed a little too big to fill. I actually remember the night before we filled out our cards to apply for the different positions, I convinced myself out of not putting down director on my request sheet, I guess. It was something that I really felt I wasn't ready for, and it was inadequate just because I felt like I wasn't the personality that the show needed. It seemed like you would need someone who's extremely calm under pressure, and I just didn't think I was up to that yet. So when I got the position, I felt pretty scared. So throughout the 16 weeks of being the director, I've had to constantly battle more of myself than anything. I've had a lot of support from each team member and crew member. My professors have supported me nonstop and believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. And I think that's true for everyone, really. Your biggest enemy is yourself, and you can convince yourself out of trying or striving for great things, just like I did. But my biggest, measurement, I always measure myself against past work or where I think I should be. So really getting over that mind block of thinking I don't have to be perfect at this moment at directing, but eventually I might be able to, and accepting that I can make mistakes and learn from them has been my biggest challenge this semester.
I think that the students who take this class, in fact, I know the students who take this class have better job opportunities because of it. They have credible things that they can bring as portfolio material to job interviews. They understand how to talk to people. So in production, you would probably interview with somebody for a job in public relations who doesn't necessarily understand production. But a student who's worked with public relations students in this particular situation would know how to talk to that person and would know what they need and what their viewpoint is, so that they can tailor the job interview so that they can get the job. And I think that's a huge plus for this. Students win. The community wins because they get this show that is produced by credible people at a university, and we're bringing in scholars from all over, from Indiana, from Illinois, from Michigan, and even other parts of the world. When we bring in, the university brings in somebody to talk, we always ask them if they'd be interested in being on the show. So it's an opportunity for the community to learn something and enjoy the show, and they win. The students win because they have portfolio material, they do better in job interviews. The faculty win because we're learning from the students. The hosts win because we're promoting the university, so the university wins. So this is really a win-win situation for every single stakeholder involved. And I think that the students really are the top winners, because I can give you examples of students who've walked into jobs that they would never have been qualified for after taking this class once or twice.
Roundtable Perspective to me has been an interesting experience. I think it's a great experience for students. I've been doing it for many years. I've been involved with multiple incarnations of the show. I feel like the show is stronger today than it's ever been. The caliber of guests that we get is much better. We've really worked to improve the camera work and some of the sort of creative things. I think when we revamped to the Roundtable Perspective, I think that really reached a new height for us, and I think moving forward we're just going to continue to get better.
I think everybody, even outside of the comm department, should take this class. It's good for experience, it's good on your resume. No matter what you're going to go into, it just looks good on your application. And it's a good learning experience.
In regards to practicum, I think it's a very good class for a broadcasting student to take. It really gets you a good feel of what being on the set of an actual television show is like, and you learn a lot of new technical skills along with it, so I think it's very beneficial for any other future broadcasting student to take it.
Some parting words I would give any student who is questioning maybe their major or their time in broadcasting, I would say that they need to take this class and really give it all they've got without any thought of going back. I struggled a lot with picking my major while in college. I think I changed my major about 6 times before I settled on broadcasting, and it's a miracle that I'm graduating in 4 years. But it was something that I had to be true to myself and make a decision based off of what I find passion in, not the money or what's accepted by society or living up to my expectations or my friends' expectations of myself. I had to make that decision and say, I'm gonna do this because this is what I wanna do for the rest of my life. And I would say to any student who is questioning their ability in either this field or the one they're currently in, is to really just dig in and learn as much as you can, whether it's about the actual topic you're learning or about how people work or about how groups work. You can always find something to learn, whether it's actually directly related to that subject or not, but learning is about everything around you. It doesn't just involve the technical skills. This class has provided me with not only those technical skills as far as running cameras or directing a live show, but it's also taught me about people and how they work and the best way to interact with those people. I've learned how to be a better leader. Leadership has a very tangible, it can offer tangible evidence of a change within a community, and being a better leader has been something that I've wanted to learn, how to grasp, how to lead groups. And this position as director in this class specifically has helped me to become that. And I've also walked out of here last spring with a lot more confidence in my ability to be a producer. And this semester I'd say that I'm walking out of this class with skills as a director, but even more so, I'm walking out of this class with a lot of friends and relationships that I cannot wait to see be carried on to the rest of my life and see the rest of the people around me on my crew succeed and influence millions and go and create their own work.
Our students really do well in terms of their careers and also their personal life, because they learn to look at things from many perspectives. Sometimes what we learn and we study, we think we know everything, and you don't see how you fit into a bigger picture. And in this situation, the students get to see how they fit into that bigger picture, and it humbles them, and it also makes them more aware, and it makes them achieve different goals because of it. Because some of the students have said, well, I'm a PR major or I'm a journalism major, but I like that better because now I see what they do, and they can find the areas that suit them the best before they get jobs and things are at stake. Really serious things are at stake for them. So I'm happy that this assists everybody involved, especially students, because I love my students.